In this world of uncertainties, do you have any questions about career, parenthood, love, or life in general? You are in the right place. This is a digital love letter to oneself, and I'm inviting you to take this journey with me as we seek answers to our questions. This is Dear Self with me, Aileen, a mother, a daughter, and a nurse, and I'm publishing weekly. And let's continue our journey with our new topic this week. Let's start! Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Dear Self with me, Aileen. And it's already 8th of January and the first week of 2023 is finished, guys, and hopefully you had a lovely weekend. And this week we'll be talking more about self-awareness, and this month we'll be talking about all about self-love. And last week we talked about the laws of attraction, and in order for us to be positive and be able to attract the things that we like, and for us to be able to live our potential and maximize those potentials, the question at hand is, what do we really like? What do we love? And do we know ourselves enough to actually live our life to the fullest? And psychologists Shelley Duvall and Robert Wickland proposed this definition. They say that self-awareness is the ability to focus on ourselves and how your actions, thoughts, or emotions do or don't align with your internal standards. And if you're highly self-aware, we can objectively evaluate ourselves, manage our emotions, align our behavior with our values, and understand correctly how others perceive you or perceive us. Why is it important that we have to be self-aware? There are three things that I could list of, and first one is that it makes us a better decision maker. If we look back 2022, I think we've made a lot of decisions that we regret later on. Like we've decided based on our emotions, it was abrupt, and then realizing later on that it was not the decision that you wanted, but it was just based on emotions. Second is better connection with ourselves and others. So we will be establishing a better relationship, not just with ourselves, but also with the people that surrounds us. And third is that I think this is the most important yet difficult thing that we could do is to control our emotions. Have you had many episodes back in 2022 where you would regret that you reacted the way that you have? Or if you want to turn back time and say that I should not have done that, I should not have been so irrational, and I should not have said the things that I have said, or I should not have broken up with him, or I should not have disrespectful to my parents, or I should have been more happier, or I should have been more understanding. So for us to be able to be good decision maker, for us to be able to have a better connection or a relationship, and the third one is so that we could be able to control ourselves, it is important that we should be self-aware. We should know ourselves. And the question at hand is, do we really know ourselves? I'm already 37 years old, and I think I can still say that I really don't know myself. And sometimes it's like when we react, sometimes we say that kinsa man ko oy, kinsa man na siya. Who am I? Who I really am? So sometimes we don't recognize ourselves if we're too angry, if we respond to a certain situation, and then after, when we start to cool down and then realize that, what have I done? Who am I? It's like, have you watched Wednesday? Or I don't wanna this is spoiler alert. If you haven't watched Wednesday, stop listening. But if you have, have you been have you experienced raging your emotions, turning into a monster, and then later on realizing that it wasn't that wasn't the reaction that you wanted uh, to react, or that's not the emotion that you wanted to show at a certain um, situation. Well, knowing ourselves is an important tool for self development, because how can you develop something that you don't know? It's like more of a real estate. When you're trying to develop something, you should know where to develop, what is the land soil, what is the topography, or what is the climate. So it's like that as well with ourselves. We should be able to know ourselves so that it would give us a clear picture of who we really are. Not because of what other people see or know of you or expect or assume of who we really are. But mind you, it is also important to hear reactions from the people that we love. And it also prevents assumptions and pretensions, not by other people, but we assume of ourselves. It's like sometimes we assume an identity, or sometimes we uh, presume of who we are, that that sometimes we get lost of who we really are. So how do we be able to know ourselves? And I have been reading books lately. I That is also one of my goals this year. For me to be able to be more positive, is that I would indulge myself into self development. I would indulge myself to things that would encourage me to become a better person. And I have been reading lately, and for us to be able to be fully self aware, is that first is, according to Dr. Urich, I don't know how we pronounce this, is it Urich or Urich? Is that first is that we have to ask the right questions. And I've heard, or I've learned about this one in psychiatric nursing, is that we should never ask the word or the question why, because why, the tendency of asking why is that we open a can of worms and we don't have the answers to those questions. We don't have the access to our subconscious that would actually answer the question why. Instead, we use the word what, because it allows us to be more objective. Like, what could we have done? What is your favorite color? Or what would the situation like? Or what could have I done better? What would be my reaction if I do this? Or what would be my reaction if I don't do that? So being able to be asking the right questions would also derive us to the right answers. And secondly is that we should be mindful. Mindful in such a way that we should be connecting with ourselves daily. It's like with devotional. Um, I have been trying my best since I've known Christ, since I've had a personal relationship with the Lord. It is still my greatest desire to have it's like a daily devotional. I do have my daily devotional, but it would only last me for, I think, 5 to 10 minutes, and that's quite an improvement. I've been religiously doing it for the past 3 years now, since I've started working here away from home. Every day I would read a verse, and then it would encourage me and it would help me live throughout the day. But sometimes it's because that I do that before going to work, so that it would give me a sense of like peace, strength. Sometimes I would forget what I have read that day, and at the end of the day, I would forget what I have read at the start of my day. And my goal is that I would be able to develop a more serious, or provide more, like exert more effort, and indulge more, like extend more minutes, wake up earlier than I should, in order for me to have self, in connecting with myself and daily devotional. And one of the things that we can be mindful of is spending time with yourself. Sometimes we're too scared to be spending alone with ourselves because we are afraid to know or to see who we really are. Sometimes I am afraid to be all by myself, dealing with all those emotions, because I feel that I would unmask myself and discover that I am not brave enough to face all my problems. That's what my fear is sometimes when spending time with myself. But I try my best, because I find peace, I find solitude in being alone. Alone is not the same as being lonely. I am being an only child, I guess, also taught me to depend on myself and nobody else. I think that's one of the things that are easier to me. But the hardest thing is that, in order for me to be mindful, is that I would be able to listen to others. I am a very, very poor listener. I I talk too much, but I have hardly had the time to listen. But that is my struggle. I try my best to listen, and sometimes others means a different perspective of yourself from you yourself. It's like sometimes we thought that you are that person, but when you spend time with yourself, you would know that the person you thought you are is not really the person you really are. I don't know if you get what I mean, but that's one of the things that we're too scared to realize, that after all these years, we thought that we are that person, only to find out that we are not. Or the other way around. We thought that we are not that person, and after spending time with yourself, we realize that we are that person. It's the same as a relationship with other persons, like dating. They said that in order for us to know somebody, or in order for us to know our partners, or the person that you want to be with, is that you have to spend time with them. And you take a deal of effort, you exert time, you exert emotions, just to know that person. We should be doing the same with ourselves. So don't be don't be too afraid to go to the cinema all by yourself. I would remember, back when I was still single, I was not afraid to eat at the Jollibee all by myself. My worries only is that I couldn't find a seat, and but I always find solitude in spending time with yourself. But I didn't had the courage to know myself, because I've said earlier, I am too scared to know who I really am. And third is that for us to be able to be more self-aware, is that we should be accepting of the criticisms from people we trust and love. The key word here is the people that we trust and love, because criticisms is it's like a pill that is hard to swallow, and it is we have the people that we trust and love, we know that they have the best interest for us. So if we hear criticisms from people that we don't trust or we don't love, they don't really matter because we know that they don't have the best interest. It's like more of if you're an artista or if you're a celebrity, like um, you have bashers, you have like detractors. Sometimes we find them not really affected. It's probably because they don't know the people who's bashing them. They are not the ones that they trust and love. But if we hear the criticisms from the people we trust and love, it is sure that it comes from a good, like it comes from the heart, and it would always mean good for you. But that is the key word, from the people you trust and love. But of course, we should have to ask them. It's like more of accepting the criticisms by asking them who we really are or what is their perception towards us. It could either be a validation to what we really, it's either a validation of what we think who we really are, or it would open more doors to really knowing who we really are. So if you have best friends, if you have, that's why they say, it is very interesting, that's why they say mothers knows best, because when your mother says dili ka angayan sa imong buhok, tinuod yun na siya nga dili ka angayan sa imong buhok. It's the same as like that, because we know majority, our mothers knows best and they always wants the best for us. I don't know, I am not sure if everybody watch or listening to my podcast, if you have the same relationship with your mothers, but this is just an example of accepting criticisms from people we trust and love, who have the best interest for us. And the fourth one is through journal. We will be able to be more self-aware if we have journals. For me, I started with a diary, and when I was in elementary, I started to write diary, and then after a year, I would go back and browse through it, and there were days that I have written that would express so much emotion, and then I could hardly remember what it's all about. I could read the names of the person, direct where my feelings are directed to, but I could hardly remember the origin or the intensity of the feeling or the emotion. But realizing it now, or realizing from the time I was reading it, it's that I have the potential to be that emotional. I have, it's either a power or it's either a curse, that I have that so much emotion, that I have so much feelings to express. And that would be like a reminder for us to be able to control ourselves in the next time that we encounter the same situation, that we realize that we are capable of expressing such emotion. There was one time when I was a bit younger, I was a very confrontational lady. It's like whenever I would have disagreements with my friends back in elementary, I would always say the words that I wanted to say. I am a very confrontational. But when I got older, when I was in uni, when I was in college, I prayed to God daily. That is one of my prayers, that He would be able to direct my heart and guard my mouth, that I would not be able to say the words that would hurt other people. That's why I think I'm doing the opposite now. I am not confrontational as much as I want to say the words. I would try to prevent it, and now I'm having a hard time expressing to the people I love what do I really want. And I would also write in my diary my milestones, my goals, my like my love life, when I was brokenhearted, or when my crush gave me this and that, or my visions, my goals. When this is one, I think of one of the interesting things that I have done when I was a bit younger, is that when I was trying or working my way to be a registered nurse, at the end of my diary, I would always write Aileen, comma, RN. It's like a manifestation that I wanted to be a registered nurse someday. And I was writing that even at the start of my boards, like a board exam. And every day when I look at it, it's like a motivation for me that I would be able to achieve putting 2 letters after my name, that I would be a registered nurse. And thankfully, I did become a registered nurse. It's working. It's like that, that we write visions in our like journals. And as I grew older, and I with a new technology, this podcast became my journal, that hopefully after a year or 2 more years, or probably hopefully 10 years, I would still be doing this. I could look back to this um, episode and would be able to recall emotions. Why did I ever thought about being having the intention to be more self-aware? It's because that emotions bring out the best or the worst in us, and how would be able to manifest the things or the best or the good things in life if we don't know which or what to manifest? If we don't know who we really are, and we don't know what is or how we'd be able to live a life and live our and maximize our potential. And when we know ourselves, we know what to manifest, and we would be able to know our own definition of our own happiness. And that's it, guys. I hope you get something from this, and hopefully would be able to have better decisions, so that we would have less regrets and we live a happier life, and we have better connection with ourselves and with the relationship, that we build an environment or establish an environment that is stress free, and we'll be able to control our emotions, that we'll be able to respond accordingly and appropriately, that we would have less regrets and live a life and become the best version of ourselves in 2023. And hopefully, guys, you've learned a lot from tonight, and I would be very happy to hear from you. If you want to reach out to me, my Facebook page is Aileen Frances, and my Instagram account is me_alienated. And hopefully, I would hear from you soon. And yes, and I'm so excited, guys, for the rest of the month, and hope to see you next Sunday, and have a great day.